All right, so today we're doing something a little different. We're not just going to talk about a topic. We're actually going to learn how to build a rock-solid argument for it. We're going to draft what's called a sovereignty brief and really dig into the powerful case for indigenous data rights. Let's jump right in. So let's start with this question, because really, this is what it's all about. This goes way beyond just data points and spreadsheets. It's about who gets to control the narrative, who gets to define a history, an identity. When it comes down to it, who is the author of a people's story? Okay, so what are we actually talking about when we say data sovereignty? Well, here's the core definition. It is the fundamental inherent right of indigenous nations to govern their own information. That means everything, from how data is collected in the first place to who officially owns it, and maybe most importantly, how it gets used in the world. Now this slide really gets to the heart of the conflict. You see, for so long, the model was what you see on the left. Extractive research. Researchers would go into a community, treat people like subjects, and basically take knowledge like it was a natural resource. And any profit, that went to the researcher. The whole model is shifting. The push for data sovereignty is about becoming partners in knowledge. It's about treating people like collaborators, seeing knowledge as a relationship you build, and making sure that the benefits flow back to the community that knowledge came from. It's a total paradigm shift. So here's our game plan. We're going to build our argument using a classic framework, the Rhetorical Triangle: Ethos, Logos, and Pathos. We'll look at the authority to speak, the logic of the case, and the emotional core of the issue. And then we'll put it all together into one powerful brief. First up, ethos. Now, in any argument, ethos is all about establishing your credibility, your authority. It's the "why should anyone listen to you" part. And in our sovereignty brief, this is the absolute foundation. It's the claim that a sovereign people has the inherent right to speak for themselves and to govern their own affairs, and that, of course, includes their data. And this slide just illustrates the clash of worldviews perfectly. You know, Western copyright law treats knowledge like a piece of property. It's owned by one person, it has an expiration date, and it's mostly about making a profit. But for many indigenous traditions, it's a completely different perspective. Knowledge isn't owned, it's cared for. It's a sacred trust. It's about stewardship by the whole community. It belongs to the clan forever, and the focus is on relationships. This difference is the bedrock of the entire claim to authority. Okay, let's move on to logos. So if ethos is the right to make the argument, logos is the logical structure that makes that argument make sense. This is the how. It's the framework that shows how data sovereignty can actually work in the real world. And the amazing thing here is that this isn't some vague, abstract idea. There's a clear system, and it's called the CARE principles. This is a super practical guide. It breaks down into 4 simple, logical parts. First, collective benefit. The data has to help the community. Second, authority to control. The nation itself must be in the driver's seat. Third, responsibility. Anyone working with the data has a duty to be responsible. And finally, ethics. The rights and well-being of the people always come first. See? It's a complete logical case. And now we get to pathos, the appeal to emotion. And you know, this is almost always the most powerful part of any argument. This is where we move past the logic and the rights and get to the deep human reason why all of this matters so much. This is about linking data to the very survival of a culture. Let's be very, very clear here. We are not just talking about files on a computer or numbers in a spreadsheet. It's so easy to get bogged down in the technical side of this, but if you do, you miss the entire point. This is about lineage. It's about memory. Data, and that can be anything from genetic information to oral histories to sacred knowledge, it's a living, breathing connection to the past. It's a sacred inheritance for the future. It holds the stories, the language, the very identity of a people. In a very real way, data is the ancestors speaking to us today. And if you think this is just theoretical, it is absolutely not. Look at the Havasupai case. Tribal members gave blood samples to help with diabetes research. But later, without their knowledge or consent, those same samples were used to research things like schizophrenia and ancient migration patterns, topics that violated their deeply held cultural beliefs. This was a massive betrayal. They called it biocolonialism, and that's exactly what it was. The fact that they eventually won and got those samples back was a huge deal, and it just goes to show the very real, tangible harm that happens when data sovereignty is ignored. So, we've got all our pieces now, right? We have the ethos, the authority, we have the logos, the logic, and we have the pathos, the heart. Now it's time to put it all together into our final, compelling sovereignty brief. And just look at how powerfully this all comes together. The argument kicks off with ethos. As a sovereign nation, we have the right. It's a claim of authority based on custodianship, not copyright. Then it's backed up by Logos. The care principles give us a clear ethical framework, one that demands community benefit. And finally, it's all driven home by Pathos. Our data is our lineage, and misusing it isn't just a mistake. It violates cultural trust and causes profound harm. Each pillar supports the others, creating an argument that's not just sound, but impossible to ignore. So we end right back where we began, with a question. But hopefully it has a lot more weight now. If data truly is the memory of a people, their stories, their science, their very soul, then the real question isn't about ownership. It's about care. It's about trust. Who will be its custodian? That's the question at the core of the sovereignty brief, and it's something we're thinking about long after this is over.